Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King Under the Mountain, and today I'm going to do a quick server update video. We're now on day 4. We're hoping to be the first team to take a capital. That might happen during this video. I am fashionably over a minute late with my main. Admittedly, when we took the pass yesterday, I didn't hit anything anyway and I was actually on time, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully people have bought a little bit more siege. Should just about work out, I think, because there's a few armies over here as well. While I'm waiting for this 5.5 minute walk, I'm just going to very quickly go into the leaderboards, because I think the last time that I kind of did this, it was within the first 24 hours, and I think I was about 20th. So I'm currently in 7th. I have no spare tiles whatsoever, but I am now ring level 50, so I have just upgraded. I've got one spare tile, so to be fair, I will probably take a 200 after this, so I'll probably go back up to 5th, so I'm slowly climbing. Normal names sitting around the top, to be honest. I always end up living in his shadow. He's a fantastic player. It's played 24/7, and it's really hard to keep up with him. It's pleasing to see that other people are struggling to do that also, but there's some familiar names in here. Fellows in here. Ogre, who I actually tipped to be close to the top. I think he'll get better as this goes on, because Bank have only just actually taken the pass, which allows them to get to higher access tiles. So I think Ogre's likely to climb quite quickly. He's in there for my top 5. A couple other people have fell off who were top around sort of day 1. But there's a lot of the normal kind of names in these teams that you sort of see knocking around up the top end. So as for Fellowship production, as kind of expected, to be honest, Yuds are at the top. Gods are second. The gap there has been pretty close all season. Then Illil are at 1.1, and we're just behind at 1 million. Debt at Ms Group are also at around about 1 million now. And then you've got a few smaller teams which are kind of still doing pretty well in production. To be fair to these two, these are going to form a kingdom, I believe. So it's over 1 million's worth of production. Then you've got some smaller teams. Seller actually took a keep earlier on today in the north. I'll try and kind of talk through the map shortly, just because a few things have happened. But yeah, there's a few teams in here, and it looks like it's going to be a fun server. At the moment, there's not really been any drama, and everyone's been pretty well behaved, to be honest. And hopefully it stays that way. So we're hoping to siege this here while I'm waiting on the walk still. So this is what's happened so far. So Yudes at the second attempt, to be fair to him, they failed the first time round. Took this pass here from where they've started. It's really awkward having a map without kind of where the teams are yet, because the kingdoms haven't formed. So Seller took this keep earlier today. This is Illil, who have now got a route into North Ravonia. They did that just after we took ours, I think. I think we were the first team to take a pass, so we're trying to be the first team to form a kingdom as well, if as long as we don't fail. Atmi's group, Debt, have actually taken this today. I think they took one of the keeps down here yesterday. It might have been West Landnefwy. We also took a keep down here as well last night with our North American kind of people. I'm right by Minas Tirith, to be fair, where I spawned. And to be honest, my start spawn location's been more than a little bit annoying. I think I'd probably be a little bit higher on production if it wasn't for the fact that I'm surrounded by rivers and I've had to walk quite long ways out my way, to be honest, to find tiles. While we're still waiting on that walk, because I'm presuming others will be on the way in now. So these capitals now have 500,000 siege and 50 level 40 armies, which is quite a lot, to be honest, on day 4. I'll be surprised if I don't hit anything. I'd also be surprised if I'm actually wearing gear, which I'm not. So I'm very pleased that I've just kind of felt that out. But it allows me to kind of talk through my gear a little bit. So we've gone for the unit defense chest piece on my main of Dane. And that's mainly, now it seems to be the new meta that people are trying to run it that way. This is obviously a sharp blade set, which kind of makes up for a little bit of lack of attack on the drums. I can't talk for it too fast because, well, I need to kind of change team. Did I put Sauron back in? This is almost disastrous with 1 minute 32 left, but I should just about be able to do it in time. I didn't put Sauron back in, so let's not panic at 1 minute 24 on the clock. And we'll start putting some equipment on Scalehelm. So Scalehelm has been wearing my focus damage set, which is these and this. I'm not going to have full HP, which is a little bit annoying considering I've been sat in my base for forever long, but I should just about be able to click through and get everyone set up. Bjorn's also in there with the new set that I've made of Reach of the Ridden Mark, which is full refined. And then we've got the Golden Skin, which is full refined, and we've got Cask of Pride, again full refined, and we've got the Palantir. With this, we've got two sets of protection and agility. Hopefully, the fact that he's a slightly faster Bjorn allows me to win some fights and madden some other Bjorns, but I'll come into that later on. I really wish there was a way of getting these sets on people faster, which they haven't put into the game yet, but... Okay, so we're now set up. We're not just going to lose all the troops willy-nilly, which is nice. We did that with 19 seconds to spare. I don't know if we've killed all the armies yet. We have. So yeah, again, I'm sieging. So 2 days in a row, but today at least was my own fault. And to be fair, I actually nearly tried to hit the keep last night without any troops on either. So kind of my own fault, really. So I'm just going to create another siege army here. And then I'm going to go into talking about siege, and I'll sort of look through some of the reports. I expect Raven's kind of done a lot of those. I think it's this one that I'll be doing. Yeah, it is. So we'll just go speed recall Gandalf. And then while the siege is actually coming in, I'll see what I can do. I don't think I've hit a single keep army yet, which is a little bit annoying, but today, like I say, was my own fault. And secretly it means I get to do some more farming shortly with the one army that I'll still have left, so let's just fill these up and then I'll start explaining what I was going to talk about siege. So I'm going to try and explain the value of something like level 5 siege. So we've already got this 50k down. I think this will go down quite simply. So while my one siege army is already on the way in, I'll send it back again. I've got 3 siege armies here, so I didn't send it. Never mind. Alright, I'll have a look. I'm not doing very well with this capital at all. So these are really low level, but because of the way that breakers work, I'm still at 589 siege. So these are low level sieges. So when people say that they haven't got enough levels to siege, it's not strictly true. So if you've got a fellowship full of 100 people and a keep like this, and you can get 500 plus siege for those 10 hits, you only need 1 army each, and you're pretty much taking this down because someone's likely to be wearing some kind of siege improvement gear. Obviously use the siege sets, but even level 7 and level 5 siege, pretty impressive to be honest. And I would very much recommend it. Always nice to see a good siege wave as well. We kind of slowed down last night when we took the pass, after a little period of time, to be honest. So what I will do is I'll use all of this formation stamina. Then I've got another one here that are set up to have breakers on them, which is this one. So I'll just then reinforce because my base is so close. So I've got 3 siege armies here, which is unusual for me, to be honest, from the past, because I wasn't really much of a sieger, but siege in 2.0 is definitely a lot more important than what it used to be. And we're pretty good at it now, to be fair. We're a pretty well-oiled machine in Derby these days for sort of sieging and doing everything else. Just to try and go through that siege a little bit more detail then. So as you go up in levels anyway, siege kind of suffers from diminishing returns. So the more levels you have, the sort of less the siege starts. Say if the siege started at say 10 as a stat, as it goes up and you kind of level up and you get another troop in there, it kind of goes to 9.5, then 9 and whatever else. And it still improves the overall value of the siege, but generally it just means you kind of don't get as much as what you think out of it. So I now have 2 siege armies here, which are full, so I'll start sending them. But this is why I like this game, because it's very much a big team game, and you can have a lot of fun just playing around with a team full of, good people, and obviously that's important, but an active team is so important because this is day 4 and we're looking at taking a capital to create our own kingdom. And that will be a little bit in front of some teams which are considered quite large in comparison to us. And that's good. It just shows that an active team, particularly PvE wise, can kind of do quite a lot together. While they're kind of walking in and walking back, I'll just have a quick look over here. So I'll show you the buildings and where we're at. I'm not actually building anything at the moment, which is pretty bad by my standards, but I'm trying to save up enough some of these, so I should have enough now for the training grounds, I think. Yeah. And then I will be trying to build a conscription post shortly. I'm trying to get these up as as fast as I can as well, because obviously every hour it improves my kind of overall resources, and I need to improve this one, start building guardians, because I feel like nothing without my guardians, particularly on my main, so that'll be good. I'm also just trying to keep up with building some troops, but I keep doing them in small batches because I need to get used to doing this with things like my guardians, because otherwise I'll be waiting a long time with it being a Kingdom End season. We'll just go back and resend these. See how far down we are. So we've been going for 6 minutes so far, and we're nearly 200k in, I suppose, which isn't bad. Like I say, I think we'll probably finish it, I hope, in about 25 minutes, which is a lot better than last night, because I think last night's keep we were starting to run out of stamina quite quickly towards the back end. Also the difference between breakers and things. So this formation here has only actually got 444 siege, and it's got full tier 3. So and they're obviously a higher level. So the fact that this siege stat here now is really important. So breakers are a siege stat of A. I think the tier 2 version of the alchemist sort of layer as well is also an A. And then when you get to alchemists, they become an S and obviously do more siege. So I would definitely recommend that if you are playing non-roleplay to use a breaker layer, to be honest, just because it just really helps out the team. And it's a little bit annoying having, tier 1 troops in your barracks just for sieging, but realistically, the faster you can get stuff out of sieging, the better for everyone. So we'll keep going through there. I will just try and just go back and explain this. So gear wise and level wise, so we've got to 39 with Dane. I've used my scrolls on him today. Probably you could argue that's a waste, because he'll level up anyway when taking 200s and 230s and 260s. But I quite like him to be higher, just so he puts out more damage and kills the tile a little bit faster for me. I haven't used my purple scroll for today because I actually took a 260 last night before the scrolls kicked in at quite low level, and I'll try and show that report afterwards. But yeah, he's sort of the main damage guy, and like I say, I use a unit defense set on him as a chest, and I found great results for it, to be honest. Partly because the maximum kind of 2.0 gear chest you've got is a 24 attack that I'm losing really for the extra defense. I'd really like this to be an L4 book, but I haven't quite got the set effect. So in theory, the set effect that I've made, even though I would like something like Might, I guess, more, but the set effect that I've made kind of makes up for the fact that I've got no attack on my chest piece and the little bit that I'm missing from the Drums of Barad-dûr. This isn't really a focus damage set. This is kind of like a leftover piece, which I appreciate. It's quite a good piece to have left over, but I'm just trying to build that up. This is waiting for whenever they bring out the Balrog, whenever that may be, or if they ever bring out the Balrog, who knows. And then I've just kind of got my normal set, which I would run on Gandalf. The white, while he's using that, because Skelhelm uses it because there is more focus in that set, just to try and crank out a little bit more damage. Generally, these items here would be on Sauron, but they're good pieces because there's lots of command in them, in those three, and then a little bit of focus here, so it's sort of a mixture of focus and command. And Bjorn, I've changed the set this season, so I've got a 2-2 now, which I'm quite happy about. Bjorn last season was using this, but I realised I could make this and still have that for Sauron with the agility set on the reach. So I've made a minus 5% negative damage. I didn't have the set of perseverance, so I feel like that's already made an improvement. And I now have an agility set on these two pieces. And what I will say about this is the theory behind it, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, is that this here skin changer has a 30% chance to inflict madness on the target for 1 round. So if I'm fighting another Bjorn who's slightly slower than me because he hasn't got any agility, I've got a 30% chance of twisting this onto his own army. Which, okay, it's low, but, if that can happen more often than not, then happy days. Should crank out a little bit more damage for me from a madness side. I keep sending my siege because I was getting distracted. We're down below 200k as well, which is nice. Should do this quite comfortably, I think. Then as for normally in the main, I would have my Sauron. Again, I try and run. It's an agility set, but it's not completely all agility, so I haven't got an agility chess piece, which would have initiative. So I just run the focus chest that I've currently got here on him, which isn't ideal, but over time, hopefully, I'll get something for that. I use Witch King a lot, particularly in my main formation, to be honest, when I'm PvE, because of the early damage that he can create with things like Nazgul and Lord of the Nazgul. Pretty good damage early on. But he tends to sit in my B team afterwards. Same as Gimli sits in the B team. So does my Shadow. And normally Scalhelm sits with him, so I run Witch King in PvP as kind of like a command build to try and give him some protection. This has been the third formation who have been taking 130s for me. A couple of 150s, but nothing really else. And then everything else is kind of dregs, and I haven't really used too much. While I'm on that, I will try and show a few of the tile reports that we've got. So we're taking 200s quite comfortably now. See if I can find... these were pretty poor reports, to be honest, for 150s from Witch King not too long ago. And the 200, I mean, this is just a bad formation, to be perfectly fair. This is quite heavy losses for this sort of stage, and it's because I'm running Saruman here rather than, say, Sauron or someone as like a tank or even a Gandalf the White. This result would be a little bit better. I get he's done a little bit of damage, but I was just being lazy and didn't change anything out. Generally, I've been farming with that formation like this, whereas, to be fair, Dane, that's a very low kind of amount of troops on him, and they just sort of fire through 5 or 6 200s, which is... helps get his levels up and his production. I've took a few crossings today. And then realistically, because of where I've spawned, I've had to do this quite a lot. So I tend to be sort of switching my gear around as I go along. And I'll set off 3 marches at the same time towards 3 different tiles and leave them probably sort of 5 minutes apart, because most of the march times have been 15, 20 minutes. So then the HP on my commanders isn't full when I switch the gear back. So I've had to try and put more than 1 troop farming on. Sort of 200-300 units on most armies, just to make sure they actually get through the tile. But it was just to speed things up. So otherwise I was basically, running out of day and still having stamina left, which I don't like to do early on. Let me just see if I need to send again. Yeah, I do. I would actually like to do a reasonable amount of siege. Or at least not be bottom. We've only got 100k left, so this will fly down, to be honest. So pretty pleased with that. So just heading back to the reports. I'll just sort of stroll down and see if I can find... There was a really interesting one earlier on, and if you could be bold enough to do it, I mean, it's pretty impressive, but I don't know, I feel like this kind of thing is a little bit broken about the game. These two had no troops on them beforehand, though, so they won't have picked up the XP, but these two will have. I mean, that's 800 command on a 200 tile. So yeah, pretty pleased with how they've been farming, to be honest, as a combination. I did actually do some PvP earlier on. It was a complete accident. I was sending to a tile and someone kind of walked across and got in the way. It'd have been one of these here, I think, but not sure where that report is. If I can find it, in fact, there's an easier way of finding this. So I did take a 260 last night, and it's pretty low level, to be honest. And I get the gear helps, but this was also, I made sure I got the better scrolls today. and I literally just scraped it. It was a 35-minute march, went bold, had a load of T2s and tier 2s in there, and I lost quite a lot of command on the first army, all level 32 and 31. And then I scraped through the second army, literally scraped through. So Sauron died, went up a level. So 32s, and then Dane went up to level 33, but I literally scraped through that 260. I haven't tried a 300 yet. I would suspect at this point I would be able to take it. But it's nice to be able to get some bigger tiles, to be honest. It was starting to get a bit cramped. It's been nice as a server that we've been able to spread out a little bit, so tiles haven't been that bad to get hold of. There's only 36,000 siege left, so we've absolutely hammered this keep, to be honest. A lot better than last night, and we'll kind of form our kingdom based around this, with us starting in the Five Rivers region. Or Land of the Five Streams, as it's known. Who knew that the Land of the Five Streams would have so many crossings and so many rivers that you had to negotiate when you were trying to farm early on? Absolutely ridiculous decision to start here, as far as I'm concerned, but there you go. Partly because it's just been so much like hard work getting that done. I've sent Witch King off up here to farm. I think Witch King's full, so I'll probably take a couple of 200s with him after this keep. And then from there, I'll probably sit around and kind of... I'm at that awkward stage. So from a tile point of view, I've got 2 forts, that's it. Then the 260, a 230, and there wasn't really any more 230s around by me, and I've been focusing on 200s today, so I've picked up a few of those. I've got 70 150s already, and this is how I kind of pad my production out. I end up with a lot of 150s, 58 130s. And then I've still got 1090s, so I'll probably replace these, but hopefully at that stage, there we go, we've occupied Minas Tirith. Hopefully at that stage, I have completely forgotten what I was going to say. It definitely wasn't anything to do with Minas Tirith. This is the problem when I get distracted by something that it just pops up on the screen. It's like, game over. That's it. By the time I get rid of the 90s, he says, hopefully I will have gone up to either ring level 70, which is very unlikely, to be honest, for the next sort of dominance point. But most likely I'll be trying to get through the chapter progression stuff that I need to do. And I haven't got loads of it left. I'll probably do the things for this tonight. And then I'll wake up in the morning, I'll probably set this going, because I'll already have those done by then. I don't think I can afford that yet. I don't know why the game's now decided to start pointing at you to say you can do stuff when you can't. Bit of a weird one. And that's kind of as up to date as we are. So we're gonna, there we go. And our kingdom name's going to be Gondor Has No King. It'll be established in 24 hours, so we will be the first colour on the map. Which in a server like this, you know, it's a good effort. And we'll try and go from there. So I'm just going to switch some gear back to this Witch King formation, which I think now has Sauron in. So we're going to try and just farm the 200, hopefully a little bit better than it was before. While we're up this way, why not? So we're going to use Witch King as a pure damage dealer in this formation. Which I'm quite happy with him in that regard, to be honest. He's not bad at that. Particularly PvE early, just because of the Nazgul skill. Hitting nice and early and pretty hard. I always get disappointed when it comes to Gimli. I don't know if it's just because he's respect 12. I don't know if it's because he's not got enough attack. Something about it, he never quite, when it comes to PvE, hits hard enough for what I'd like. But then I am used to Dane and Bjorn hitting pretty hard, so I normally split them up, to be honest, when I'm just farming, just so I can kind of get the maximum damage output from both of them. However, I have not done that this season, so if I hadn't done some stupid stuff, I'd probably be a little bit further up in production as well. I am up to 7 times and counting now where I have tried to take a tile with no equipment on whatsoever, which, as anyone will tell you, is not ideal. And Earlier on, I did actually manage to take a 200. I took a lot of losses, but I did actually manage to take a 200 with no gear on, which, to be fair, was quite impressive in itself with Dane. I'll just make sure that is actually that formation. And just make sure, yeah, he is in there. So they shouldn't really need the health, to be honest, so I'll just find a 200. Using the search function, for those who don't know, you press the search button. We'll do that again. Search button here, and you can do this sliding scale. I'm presuming everyone will know this by this point, but I'll just say it just in case. And we'll just search a 200. I don't mind taking stone tiles all day long because my market's high enough and people tend to leave them alone. So it's a 13-minute march, so I'll just set them off. I don't know why people... I get they obviously have to convert it through the market and everything else, but realistically, once your market's at a certain level, 80% of the resources is still not bad for what it is if you're having to move some stuff around, and you need a lot of stone early on anyway. So I don't know why people tend to take stone last, personally. It's probably the one that I always pick up. The only good thing is, psychologically as well, when people say if they take over a territory that you're in, or if there's, say, a smaller fellowship in the sort of area that you've farmed, and they come back and try and take tiles, they never take 200 stone. They always go after the grain or the ore or the wood. Mainly the grain, to be honest. But yeah, they never take the 200 stone. So I always feel like 200 stone, just a little tip, pretty safe tile, to be honest. I'm not saying that's a pro tip because people will do it and will take them, but generally they tend to last that little bit longer. Just saying. So I'll go take my siege back, I suppose. I'll probably take some crossings tonight and fill in the crossings around the map. I did a couple earlier on. Did the post houses as well, so we're pretty set around here, to be honest. And I would hazard a guess that this will come down soon, I would think, as we don't need it anymore. We have, as a fellowship, unlocked 2 of them now, which is good. So up to here, we're sort of running through the employment hall. Hopefully we'll get that soon enough. I'm sure we'll probably be after great beasts or something like that, or maybe even eagles or fell beasts, whichever one. Guess we'll be doing one of the 2. I'm not sure. Eagles have been nerfed, and so have fell beasts to a degree now. They have been nerfed, but I don't know if anyone's noticed this as well, where I don't know if this is new to this campaign or whether it's in all the campaigns, but you now have certain areas that are called a gale area. So it's when a region is under the influence of a gale, flying armies cannot occupy the land in this area. This is Ridersburg, where I'm currently farming. So when Ridersburg is occupied, the gale status area can be lifted. As your server progress advances, the gale status in various regions will gradually be lifted. So I actually noticed this about a day or so into the server, to be honest. And I noticed that in the season, there is, towards the back end of it, a little whirlwind symbol. Because I was looking what chests were in here, to be honest. So basically in these areas until chapter 9, unless they are taken, you cannot use a flying army to take a tile. Which, I don't know, it's a big change, I think. And then in Dol Guldur it's the same with Central and in Vale. So I think that's a big change. I'm not entirely convinced it's for better or for worse. It's just it stops you from being able to move around so fast, to be honest. I wonder if it'll work on, say, if you tried to siege bomb a spring, for example, so you could build a fell fort. I don't know if it'd let you siege that and then take it, because it's technically not taking the tile for you, it's taking it for the fellowship. I don't know. But an interesting new mechanic that I didn't know existed. So I don't think really at this stage there's a lot else to sort of show you, apart from the fact that Raven's smashing it as usual. There's some big names. You'd have got a lot in the top 10, to be honest. I'm trying to stay above fellow, but it's hard work. And there's a few familiar faces from last season up here as well, like Scotsman and Noise and Robin, who we've known for a few seasons now. I think he was the first person on the server to take a 200 about an hour and a half in or something stupid. With the account he's playing, it's pretty whaled out. So there's a lot of people knocking around on it that have done pretty well. As for the fellowship production itself, like I say, this is where it's currently sat. These 2 teams are bigger than the rest. There's a bit of debate about how Ilil fit in here, and whether they're closer to us or whether they're closer to the top two, I guess time will tell on that. But I am pleased with the players that we've picked up in particular. So we are definitely a lot stronger this season. There is a lot of sort of new players towards the top end. Kennel's a great player. So we've got some of our old ones as well, but we've got some really good kind of people that we've picked up from some other people who are obviously above where we would normally be. So pretty excited about our season, to be honest, and we've definitely improved. I did have a look at this earlier on. It wasn't anything great. I may pick up the Bow Knights at some stage, maybe, that were in there, I think, just to perhaps mix things up a little bit. But I will pretty much be running Guardians, I would imagine, all season again, particularly if it's a fighting season, which I'm sure this one will be, if I'm honest. I don't remember dropping a second tile. Apparently I've got two now, so that's that. So really at this point that was kind of everything that I wanted to say. I will try and do more of these videos. I might even try and do one tomorrow. I'd like to talk more about and probably do a video on Siege in general, and how it can be more effective. You only really need 2 formations per person, and you'll take most keeps now. I know people were kind of moaning about Siege, but I'll probably just show this as well. So miraculously, Raven pretty much killed everything there, and then Porky and Marty cleaned it up. And as usual, Al is Mr. Siege, and he's pretty much done that on his own. I know we obviously got the gems for it, but I don't think I'll have appeared anywhere on here. How much did I do? Pretty poor showing this by my very low standards of Siege, but at least I'm somewhere in here. Where am I? I'm way down the list. That's a bad keep from me, but well, I was talking to this throughout, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'd rather be there and not be needed than be there, be needed, and kind of fail miserably. So yeah, some good hits in there. Raven in particular, but he is a bit monstrous. He's been level 40 for most of the day. Taking tiles for fun, to be honest. I think he did a 300 earlier on and lost about 500 command using tier 1 elves. So pretty insane is Raven's gear. And like I say, in PvP and in PvE, I always try and keep up with him, and it's a bit of a running joke now that I never quite get there. And that's okay, but it pushes me forward every season. And I do try my best to keep up where I can. I don't think there's really too many tile reports that were of note beyond that. Like I say, these 200s are going down pretty easily once you start using tier 3 troops. I'd be interested to see how easy they are once I've got down to dwarves, but I think it's going to be a little while before I get to dwarves, to be honest, because I'm just going to focus on my main buildings until we get to PvP, and then I'll probably switch. Try and get the dwarves in as fast as possible. But yeah, so that was the first little update video. So thanks for listening. As always, if in doubt about anything, always follow your nose.